This is The American Asian, and I'm your host, Sau Fong O'Fallon. Many of you have heard about what happened in mainland China back in November, where the citizens finally stood up all across China, demanding an end to the draconian lockdowns. These lockdowns happened across many metropolitan cities in China, where the government wanted to reach 0 cases of the virus. You know, the one that was made known to most of the world at the start of 2020. For this show, we will refer to it as the bug, just to keep it simple. This brutal lockdown policy imposed on China's citizens over the years entailed shutting down entire metropolitan areas, locking people in their homes, and some even had their doors welded shut, which often resulted in China's citizens to be without basic necessities and therefore caused massive suicides, starvations, death due to the lack of access to medicine, and death by denial of medical care at hospitals. Over the couple of years, China would require citizens to scan their QR codes via China's WeChat app on their cell phones when entering public places. Now, this QR code, known also as Digital Passport app, has been nicknamed the Killer app. It is because the code must show up with the color green, indicating that the person may not have the bug. However, if the code is yellow or red, an alarm would go off, and those citizens may not have access to transportation, food, or even a residential complex. Now, having the red code required isolation for 14 days. China's quarantine camps were built by the hundreds of thousands over the 2 years, where food was delivered to you through a small window by workers in hazmat suits, who many called big whites. Many times, infants and toddlers have been separated from their parents after testing positive. Now, these quarantine camp inmates would have to pay for their own isolation. They have to cover their own costs for accommodation, food, test fees, etc. And then they'd have to take their own trash home upon the release. But there was a very disturbing problem with these QR code passport system. The Chinese government could easily cut you off from society by remotely switching your health passport code to yellow or red. There had been reports of this switch happening to groups of people, and then they cannot access public transportation to get home or to get to work. Then, in late November 2022, civil unrest sprung up in China in response to the government's strict lockdown procedures to stamp out this bug. Massive protests across China happened, which were triggered by an apartment fire in Urumqi, China, which resulted in at least 10 people killed, and some reports claim maybe up to 44 deaths. China's draconian lockdown procedures were blamed as it prevented emergency responders from entering the building even sooner. Urumqi had been under lockdown for 100 days. Now, know that in China, public dissent is definitely not welcomed. Yet these large-scale unrest and protests broke out in several major cities, including, but not limited to, Beijing, Chengdu, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Wuhan. People all across cried out for freedom, no more lockdowns, and they also cried for the CCP to come to an end. No doubt that Apple limiting the airdrop feature in China at the behest of the government upon the protests may have lent to more frustration for the protesters, as the citizens were no longer able to get around China's strict online censorship in order to communicate. This righteous rebellion, known as the A4 Revolution or the Blank Paper Revolution, took place over the same issue at the same time all across China. This extraordinary uprising most likely caused China to ease up on the zero policy, despite state media shying away from covering protesters' demands. With their economy adversely impacted due to the harsh lockdowns, the citizens' roar had to be seen and heard. Now, so if the power of China's citizens were so effective in a place such as China, we must understand the power that we American citizens have in defending our own liberties. I urge all of you to take notice and take action should you see your liberties being encroached upon ever again. We at Asians for Liberty are encouraged to journeying together with you to protect our freedoms, as tyranny will always be looking for opportunities to overpower a distracted society. We invite you to share our information and gather other freedom-loving people, and we appreciate any tax-deductible support you would like to offer. I'm Sau Fong O'Fallon, and I'll see you next time at The American Asian. Have a wonderful new year.